we're trying to uncover with all of this research is like how can we modify brain networks? So memory networks, skill networks, things like stroke. So you can have dysfunctional brain networks or kind of dead brain networks. How do you bring them back to life? How do you help one network kind of piggyback off another network? So like in the example of the student, the language part of the brain was not as developed as his peers, but the motor function part was overdeveloped. He was able to remember those patterns and make sure that they come back. So it's not clear yet to neuroscientists how certain brain networks develop and how they interact with each other. But by providing different stimulus, we can model and figure out which brain network reacts to this stimulus, which brain network reacts to this stimulus. So that's what a tool like this does. And that's what a big part of my study is, modeling those brain networks, particularly as they relate to functional outcomes in tasks that people perform. 3D printed hand. And so it's useful for testing robots when you don't want to put a human hand in the robotic interface. And so when I designed this hand, my advisor at the time, so I did this in my undergrad as a senior project, and my advisor said, hey, this is really interesting, you should go to grad school. And then he became a professor, so at the time he was a postdoctoral researcher. Now I'm working with him and doing my PhD with him, so it kind of helped me gain that connection and build my work. But he was so interested in the work because he said this is so creative. This like you built a hand that really works like the human hand. And I think most kids growing up outside of Montessori, they are looking at a piece of paper. They're not looking at their hands, But I spend so much time looking at the world through my hands, not through just my eyes. Writing some assignment, like you're using a pen, but actually moving the blocks from here to here, you're not using the pen, you're using your hand. So getting that exposure to my own body in a way that is, it's a tool to interact with the world, not just it's in the way. It's in the way between me and the paper, but it's actually how I'm interacting with the world. That's what inspired me to learn the biomechanics of the body in a way that it's functional, that it's a tool, not that it's an obstruction. The biggest thing is creativity, particularly with designing mechanisms. So I designed, in traditional education systems, the human body is viewed as an impediment to functional outcomes. So for example, when you're taking a test or doing an assignment, your body is in the way of you producing the thing that the teacher is evaluating. But in Montessori education, your body is the tool. It's not an impediment, it's the tool that you're using to interact with the world and produce the outcomes that are measured by teachers and by evaluators. So the difference between the Montessori approach and the traditional approach is the human body is the vessel for learning rather than an obstruction for learning.